It's not hooked up. Okay. All right, I think I'm set now. Welcome to take two. Welcome back to another vlog. This week I will just be doing Q&As. I've got a lot of stuff coming up in May, a lot of activities, so it'll probably be low key for the rest of this month. But I put out on all my socials a request for questions regarding my move to South Africa, the process, or questions about living abroad. So I got a few questions and I'm going to answer those today. I'm only going to pick 5. That seems to be the magic number on these YouTube videos. And I'm going to, y'all know I can talk, so it's going to be, I'm going to expound on those five questions. So, let's start with this one. How do you find a job? So I didn't. It depends on, when you're moving abroad, you want to look at your options as far as visas, because in order to stay in most places for a long period of time, you have to have an extended visa, a visitor's visa, beyond the typical 30 days or 90 days. Most countries give a 90-day visa on arrival, even though that's probably about to change for Americans. But some places give like a 6-month visa, but on arrival. But typically, I'm just going to go off of what the current situation is. So to stay in a place, another country beyond that, you have to have research the different types of visas. If you want to actually move, you want to move to another country, then you need to look at the type of visa that will allow you to work in that country. Do your research about working in that country. I'm going to speak specifically on South Africa. Most people that work in South Africa have came over on what's called a critical skills visa, which means there's a career or some career fields where there weren't available South Africans, qualified South Africans, or qualified locals for those positions. So the government decided to, open that up to people abroad as well, to widen the pool. There may be some applicants here. They may need additional people, or just whatever the requirements are for that job. So they expanded their options to a wider applicant pool, including people from other countries. So that's why they have a critical skills visa. A lot of those jobs are advertised on Indeed. You just have to change the name of the country from, let's say, the United States to a different, whatever country you're interested in, and see if you qualify for those critical skills jobs. Some people come here on a digital nomad visa. That's a lot of countries have digital nomad visas, where you come to a country and you actually work for your home country remotely. That would be the one that I would really advise, especially when you come to a country where the exchange rate, the financial exchange rate, is not the same. The dollar doesn't equal a dollar. Currently, the dollar equals 18 Rand. It changes every day, so you have to, by the time you view this, it may be 19, it may be 15. From the year that I've been here almost a year, it's gone from 17 point something to 19 point something. So today, I think I just looked, it was like 18.85 or something like that. But like I said, it changes every day depending on the stock market. And with BRICS coming on board full force, that may even change too. So just do your research and find out, the exchange rate, and if it will be beneficial for you to work remotely, which again I advise, or to seek a position in the country in the critical area. Also, you can start a business, entrepreneurship. I don't know what visa that would be, but you have an opportunity to come and open a business. Let's say Again, I'm in South Africa, and you want to open a Jamaican restaurant here. That may be something that's unique in certain areas, or may not even exist in certain areas. I saw a video where someone opened I think it was a Jamaican restaurant in Italy. It may not have been Italy, but it's some European country, and it was very successful because they did not have any authentic Jamaican restaurants there that had food cooked by Jamaicans. So, those opportunities as well. So look for opportunities for entrepreneurship, digital nomad options, and critical skills. I am here on a retired person's visa, so I do not work. I cannot work in South Africa on a retired person's visa. I had to prove that I have a pension, a lifelong pension, that would sustain me here in South Africa. A lot of people that I've met here have that type of visa. They've either retired military or retired from some profession where they have a pension coming in for the rest of their life, like me. I could work for remotely in the States, but my whole point of leaving was to be fully retired. So those are options as far as finding jobs. I think they have also monster.com, and then you can research different countries to see if they have local job searching sites, and that would be for those jobs in critical skills. So the next two questions actually fall in line with that first question. What do I do for work in South Africa? As I said, I do not work. I am retired from 32 years in public education. So I am living off of my pension from my retirement. So I do not work in South Africa, but I could work remotely if I wanted to. Maybe one day I may do that. I enjoyed working for a university remotely, so I may do that, but right now I'm enjoying retirement. The next question dealt with the cost of living. This is for anyone that is exploring moving to a different country. Be careful of how you say things. I'm not going to say that it's cheaper to live here, but I'll say, because that's actually an insult to the locals, because for them it's not cheap. That's like someone coming to the United States saying, oh, it's cheap to live in California because they're a millionaire. To the average person around, it's not cheap. So just be careful of how you say things. So I'm going to make sure I watch my words, because I want to be respectful of the people, the natives of the country where I live. So the cost of living is good for an American. As I mentioned earlier, the exchange rate for the dollar. But you have to be smart. A lot of people come and visit and they say, oh, I can spend, few dollars and buy a bunch of stuff and things like that, which may be true, but living in a country, you have to think in that denomination, in that their money. So I have a account here that I transfer money into, and I try to spend out of that account in order to make sure that I'm monitoring my spending. If I were just to spend out of my American account, I would probably do a lot of frivolous things that I really should not be doing. But in order to manage my money, I want to live here, so I'm going to live like a South African, with a South African account where I'm spending rand and not necessarily dollars, even though I just spent dollars, but getting my beard done and buying groceries and ordering food. But anyway, you get my point. Be careful of how you say things. And just like anywhere else, it depends on where you live. There are some areas that are less expensive, but you trade out things. The less expensive areas are more challenging to live in. Sometimes it's not the safest place. The more expensive areas, you get the higher cost areas, you get more benefits, more amenities. Let's say the place where I live, very nice complex. It's gated. There's a tall wall with an electric fence around the top. Live security every day. Um, we have a restaurant, a gym, two playgrounds for kids. There's a daycare here, and in American dollars, I'm just going to give an estimate. You can pay anywhere. Well, you can pay anywhere for a 3 bedroom, 2 bath. You can pay anywhere from depends on the month, it's 650 to 850, 650 to 850. Um, so my rent is in that range. I'm not giving my full rent. Um, so you have to do your research. There are other places where you can pay $300-400 for a place. It may be a 1 bedroom, 1 bath in a high rise, but the area may be a little challenging. Um, and then again, I'm in one of the major cities. If you live out in a smaller city or in a more rural area, you're going to pay a little less. That's just like anywhere else. So you just have to shop around. What type of environment do you want to live in? Cost of clothes, reasonable. You have to shop around and find some good bargains. If you want to live like a local, you have to shop like a local and make some smart decisions. I didn't come here looking for Nike. Let's just say that. I didn't come here looking for American labels. Drip, I love Drip. Drip is a local South African brand of shoe. Love it. So I invested in a lot of Drip when I got here. I didn't want to buy any Nike because, when you come to a different country, you want to do things, you want to have different experiences. I didn't come here looking for American clothes. I came here looking for South African wear. Um, so the cost of living, depending on the country that you go to, do your research, see what the dollar compares, how the dollar fares, and do your research as far as areas, where you want to live. One of the best things to do also with all these questions is to connect with locals. South Africans are so friendly, and that's going to lead into another question. In fact, let me go ahead and answer that question now. I hate this rumor about Africans not being fond of Black Americans, African Americans, or as I'm seeing now, FBA's foundational Black Americans. I'm gonna stick with African American. Let me explain what that's about. I'm going to talk about South Africa in particular, then I'm going to talk about Africa in general, as far as what I've witnessed and what I've talked to people and they've told me. In South Africa, there are a lot of people from other countries that are here illegally, and they are, it's just like in the United States. Let me just say, let me bring it home for those Americans that are watching. With the immigration thing that's happening, where a lot of people are being sent back, a lot of illegal immigrants are in the United States, most of whom are just basically there trying to make money and make decent living, they're undercover, they come and do the jobs that Americans do not want to do. But they've come there and they're working the jobs, and they're living a low-key life. They're sending money back to their families in their home countries, which often are in high poverty because of corruption. That's a whole nother video. I'm just going down all kind of rabbit holes with that. But you have to understand why this is happening. And a lot of people don't understand, but you will understand if things keep going the way they're going in the United States, into the adjacent states. You will understand. But the South Africans have an issue with people that are coming here from other countries. They're coming from their countries where it's very challenging. Jobs are very scarce. Government is very corrupt. But they come to South Africa and find jobs with people that will hire them from less than minimum wage. Same thing that happens in the United States, where let's say a lot of people from Mexico are hired and paid to work in fields, to work agriculture, to work in hospitality and fields like that, and they pay them less than minimum wage because Americans don't want to do those jobs even for minimum wage, or the companies can't afford to pay them. Same thing here. So there are some South Africans that do not want any immigrants here because some of the immigrants are committing crimes, very bad crimes, because they come they cross the border illegally. They're here trying to find jobs. They're not finding jobs. So in order just to survive, they will commit crimes. So that does happen. But it happens in every country. It happens in most countries. It happens in America. So let's just say that there are dangerous, violent criminals there that have not been able to find jobs. Some that have been able to find jobs, and they still commit crimes. So yes, I understand those people being removed, but like I said, that's a whole nother video. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now at the crazy way that's being addressed by the current administration. So there are some people that do not want any Americans here. It's not even about being black Americans. They don't want anybody here. There are some people here that have overstayed their welcome, that have overstayed their visas. People from Europe, lots of people from Europe that have overstayed their visas. There's a situation here where a European moved here, I think about 20 years ago, and is trying to get citizenship. I think he has a residency, but he's to apply for citizenship, and in the process is also leading a movement to have the Eastern Cape, which includes the city of Cape Town, become its own country. And so people are up in arms. A lot of people are up in arms because, like, you are an immigrant yourself, and you're coming here trying to divide the country. So that's happening. We still have a lot of things like that are making, anyone that comes from another country not being welcome. That's a small percentage though, because out of, let's say, 50 people that I've met, maybe 3 questioned why I'm here. They weren't rude about it, but they were like, why are you here? Now, as far as the rest of, let's say, the continent, I talk to people in other countries, and there are similar situations where there's corruption in government, corruption in leadership, where you see leaders of countries. There's Cameroon that has their president's been in place for 40 years. I think he has property, houses or mansions in Europe and all this kind of stuff, and yet people are living in poverty. The majority of people are living in poverty. A lot of corruption, in a lot of other countries, basically because people have gotten into power and they don't want to leave. Does that sound familiar, Americans? What's going on currently? So another reason that you will find some Africans do not care for black Americans is because of our attitude. A lot of black Americans have come over to Africa like they are the savior. As I said at the beginning of the video, we have to watch what we say and watch our words. People say that, here in South Africa, they drive on the wrong side of the road. Who determined what was the right side of the road? They said drive on the opposite side of the road. Some black Americans come to African countries and they make fun of the way that Africans use English, not knowing that the English that is used here is British English, and Americans use American English. I am constantly in awe of the way that Africans speak to each other, especially here in South Africa, where there are 11 national languages. I think in Nigeria I don't know how many national languages there are, but there are like 200 languages, over 200 languages, because different tribes speak different languages, different dialects, but they're able to communicate with each other. I witnessed someone speaking Zulu to another person that was speaking, I think it was Osa, and they understood each other. You know, I hear people. I'm watching a soap opera called The River. I think it went off last year, but I am fascinated with it. I just read the subtitles, but they're speaking in 4 or 5 different languages, including English, and in statements, in different sentences, you will hear words and phrases of different languages that are all encompassing in that one sentence. And it's just amazing how talented, people here use language. And I think about, when I grew up, and we were the only optional foreign language was Spanish, and a lot of people did not learn that. And it trips me out, because I'm like, people come over here and want to complain and mock and make fun of how Africans speak English, and people from New York, Brooklyn, New York, cannot even communicate with people from the Delta of Mississippi, and we're speaking English. So, we come over here with an elitist attitude. We come over here talking about how cheap stuff is. We come over here complaining that I cannot stand the show that's on TLC, and I'm gonna put them on blast now, because I cannot stand the show. Coming from America, it makes us look stupid. And TLC is reality TV, basically. It's scripted, unscripted TV, where people are coming over to moving from the United States to there are 2 families in Ghana and one in Tanzania. And just some of the things that they say, it makes it seem like, you came over here, you didn't do your research. You didn't know that there would be load shedding, power outages. You didn't know that there was not going to be AC. It just makes us look bad. That's an example of the elitist attitude that Black Americans have. You didn't know that there wasn't going to be a McDonald's where you were going, and your kids are complaining because they want a hamburger, instead of telling them that they're going to a different country and you need to try the different cuisine. So that turns a lot of Africans off to Black Americans, because we come over acting like we're better than, and we're not. There's so much that we can learn about ourselves coming over here. It really pains me to see people talking about Africa, the Black Americans talking about Africa, and they've never been. They base things off of what they've seen on TV, just like a lot of Africans have based things about Black Americans off of what they've seen on TV and what they see in movies. And that's media. That's a certain population, colonizers they present a certain image of Africans to Black Americans, and Black Americans to Africans. And this goes to all areas of that diaspora, not just Americans. But they paint us in an image where, a lot of people felt that we're just rappers, and Black men are just baby daddies, deadbeat baby daddies, and Black women are just sassy and just, aggressive and blah, blah, blah. And I think that of all people, just like we thought, we saw the images of, African children sitting in dirt roads, naked with flies flying all around them, and, they portray that as that's what Africa is. And until you come and see for yourself, you have nothing to say. I'm just gonna be real. People have the opportunities to go. We travel to Mexico, we travel to the islands. Save up your money and come to the motherland and see for yourself. See your people, and come with an open mind. Don't come with an elitist attitude. You come with an open mind, willing to learn. I love how my experiences with the South Africans, we're learning from each other. They ask me about America. they tell me about South Africa. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, and it's one of the reasons why I want to stay here. Um, because I'm humble and I want to learn. I didn't come over here like I know everything and telling people what they're doing, which is wrong. You know, Coming over here expecting American things. Um, if I wanted all that, just stay in America. But no, I wanted to expand my horizons. I wanted to reconnect, um, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm so happy that I did. So safety. It is true that there is lots of crime here in South Africa. It is true that there's lots of crime in a lot of African countries. It's true that there's lots of crime in America. It's true there's lots of crime all over this world. You just have to know where to go, when to go. You don't have to know how to move. Um, I watch my mouth I went to the mall today to get my beard done. Shout out to Sizway. Um, and I had to go to the grocery store, and I was very happy. Hold on. Pause. Sorry about that. My food came, and I'm about to wrap this up because my brother's hungry. But you just have to know how to move, where to go. If you're a younger person, of course, you're going to try to go out in the nightlife. Again, know where to go, how to move, how to present yourself. Don't come here flashing, like I'm American, I got dollars, bottles for everybody, and all that kind of stuff. When you come here and you're flashy, you make yourself a target. When you go to the wrong neighborhoods, and this is anywhere, you make yourself a target. It may be highlighted more in countries over here because, like I said earlier, you have a lot of people that are struggling to make it. And it's because of corruption. It's because of people being put in power. There are a lot of coups where people take over countries, military takes over countries. There have been a lot of countries that are still under European influence here. And a lot of that is changing. Check out Namibia. They just hired their first female president, and she's doing things. She just sent 500 of us back home because we were there illegally. Check out Burkina Faso. That captain is in the presidential position, doing big things for that country as well. They put France out. They're changing names of streets from French names to local names. They are it's amazing, and it's beautiful to see the turnaround that Africa is making right now. Africa in general is going through a transformation, and it's a transformation that a lot of people, colonizers, do not want to see, because they know that if Africa continues with this changes in leadership, in a lot of countries, changes the way that people lead, the diaspora coming back from all over the world, they know that Africa will run it. Africa will run the world. Africa does not need resources from anyone. The talents, the knowledge, the experiences that people in the diaspora have from different countries, if they come bring it back here and work collaboratively with African countries. I mean, just imagine that level of power. So until that happens, there are people that are living in very impoverished situations because the government is not doing them right. Government has mismanaged money, therefore the economy of the country is in shambles, and people have to do what they have to do to feed their families. People have kidnapped. There was a situation where a minister from the States was kidnapped during church service and held for ransom. Um, I know people in Nigeria. Nigeria has a bad rep in the States as being scammers. And I know two people that actually did it. And they explained to me why. One was actually basically sold by his mother into that life. Another one did it for a short period of time because they have so many talents that they go to school, they get degrees, cannot find jobs. So if you talk to people, get to know people, and come see for yourself, you'll understand and have a little bit of empathy. It's not that it's right, but you have a little more understanding. These people are not just evil. There are some people that are just lazy and don't want to work. Does that sound familiar, Americans? People want to live off of the live off the government. I know people having worked in education as long as I have. I know people that have adopted children with disabilities so that they can get a check from the state. I know people. I remember one family that worked hard to get their child labeled as in special education so that they could get a check. Child was not special ed, but they wanted them tested over and over and over again. So people don't want to work. There are people here, there are people there that do not want to work, and so they do whatever they can. That's some small percentage, but we cannot lump everybody into the same category. You have to deal with individuals. You have to know how to network with people, and then do your own research. And once you've done all that, come see for yourself. A lot of countries offer visas where you can come for 30 days, you can come for 90 days. Come and see for yourself. Research where to go, connect with people. I love the way the Africans are proud. Even if in impoverished countries, they are still proud. And they want to show off. They want you to know, to get the real story. So connect with good people. You may have to sift through because, some people, they see Americans, we're portrayed as having all this money. And it's because we live like that. People spend so much money on labels and cars and, living those fake lives. So you make yourself a target. But anyway, hope this answered all the questions that I was given. A lot of them tied into each other, and in summary, you just have to see for yourself. You have to see for yourself. Don't believe what people tell you. Some people come here, they have a horrible experience. True. Maybe they didn't move right. Maybe they didn't do what they were supposed to do. Some people come here and they've had awesome experiences because they've done their research. They knew where to go. My experience has been great. I don't go anywhere at night. I don't need to. I've had my party years. I didn't come here for that. I came here for the cultural experience and for peace, and I got it. So that's that. Have any more questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments below. I'll do another one of these when I get more questions. But I just wanted to do a low-key video this week and talk about and answer some questions that people have had regarding moving to and living in a different country. Until then, Niabonga. Peace.